And welcome to round 3 of the iROC Challenge Series Mini Season 1. We're at Watkins Glen tonight for 20 laps on the road course. The guys are just starting qualifying here. We're riding on board with Joshua Funkhauser, who just started his second lap. See him get a little loose there. Let's watch how he handles the bootleg here. Did a good job there of hugging those curbs on the inside. The closer you can get to those without upsetting the car, the better, the faster the line will be. So that was a great job. Let's see what kind of time he can put up on the board here, coming around for his first time lap. And it's a pretty respectable lap, but based on the practice times. We did see one guy get down in the 115s, but most of the top 5 were right around that 116 mark. So that's a pretty respectable lap there for the first time lap. Looks like Paul Buzzle put up a 118. Let's ride along with him here on his second lap. Ooh, that might be the story of the night. Guys getting loose right there. I know from experience it's really hard to get full throttle right there at that point in the track. I think he was just lost a little bit of control there. And looks like he's really loose right here. This is not going to be a good time for him on this lap. Let's ride along with Matt Henry here, who is also on his second time lap. He's currently scored in second place right now with a 117. Ooh, a little bit of a mix up there going in the entry of that turn. Let's see how he handles the last turn here. Right, here's another tough point to get full throttle right there. Truck just wants to step out from you. And looks like he doesn't improve on his time there. Riding along with Dakota Clark here, who's on his... Oh, looks like that might have been his second lap there. Right along with Steve Singer here. Steve was the fastest in practice by a pretty good margin. So let's see what kind of time he can throw down here in qualifying. And I was watching Steve in the practice, and he was practicing his pit stops a lot. That's a pretty good sign. He's got this track nailed down. He was just making sure he had his green stop, pit stop entry under control. With the brake bias you have to run at these road courses, a lot of times it's a lot of rear brake heavy just to get the truck to rotate. So he was doing a lot of pit entry practice, which may play off later in the race here. Looks like he's starting his first time lap here. Pretty good through turn 1 there. You don't want to get up on that curb too much. It'll just upset the truck. You're taking a longer line. You can't get on the throttle as hard. It's kind of want to keep it below that white curb as much as possible. Looks like he held it together pretty good there, where we've seen the other guys getting loose. Good form there. Again, he's getting the left side tires up on the white curbs, but he's not upsetting the truck. There is a bit of a bump there on one of those curbs, on the entry one. You don't want to get too far over it. It will just completely upset the rear end of the truck. Like what I'm seeing so far, he's got it nice and under control. He's not sliding the rear on entry, not, you know, getting too hot on the gas on the exit, not spinning his tires. Looks like he's in full control, and he just laid down a 1:15.5, which does put him on the pole. And he's not even going to do a second lap. That's a pretty good time. I think he might have the pole with that time there. Right on board here with Hunter Clark. So on his second time lap. Like he just couldn't get on the throttle there coming out of that last turn. But he did improve on his time. That puts him up into 7th place there. And we just realized we have 2 Clarks. So Hunter Clark is in 7th. He's number 51. Dakota Clark is in 8th place right now. Right, it looks like Hunter's the last one on the track here, so most of the guys have finished up qualifying, so we'll just take a moment and go over the season here. So we're in round 3 at Watkins Glen in a 5 race mini season here to have a chance to qualify into the season 3 of the iROC Challenge series. There's going to be 2 mini seasons. We're in the first one. Top 5 in the points at the end of each mini season will earn a spot in that season 3. And the point standings as we go into this race are, we've got Matthew Brower sitting in 1st place, Paul Buzzell 2nd, only 2 points behind, Hunter Clark in 3rd, Steve Singer and Matt Henry tied for 4th, and Joshua Sobel in 5th, who looks like he did not make tonight's race, so he's going to lose quite a bit of ground there. And we've got Mr. Neil Phil Send It Quick, who finally made it up into the broadcasting booth. How you doing, Neil?
Good, Kevin. You finally got me?
Finally got you.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's been a surprise and shock of updates tonight that kind of slowed me down. Sorry about that.
No worries. You made it before the start of the race, and that's what matters.
Always late to the party, but life of the party, right?
That's right. That's right. All right. So it looks like the guys are gridding up here.
Okay.
We'll just run through the grid order here. On pole is Steve Singer. 2nd place, Joshua Funkhauser. 3rd, Matt Henry. 4th, Matthew Brower. 5th, Paul Buzzell. 6th, Doug Thomas. 7th, Hunter Clark. 8th, Dakota Clark. 9th, Kason Hendrickson. And in 10th, Jarrett Widener. Well, I would ask you, Neil, who you were pulling for to win tonight, who your favorite was, but I believe you missed all of practice, so be a pretty big guess at this point, right, huh?
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at some of the times here and just trying to get a feel for who's quick and who to watch tonight. I mean, it looks like Steve's got a pretty good lap time there, and Josh is always pretty quick.
Yeah, it was about the top 4 there were pretty close in practice. They were all within about a second and a half of each other.
Check Singer's tires.
Brian McCann just commented here on the stream that we need to check Steve Singer's tires. He may be soaking them with that qualifying time.
It's a good lap time.
All right, and we're off. Like it was a standing start and
Standing
not
start
a rolling
there.
start. Yeah, that's a
Yeah, it's kind of
surprise.
interesting. Boy, challenge in the first turn here.
Don't know that I've ever practiced the standing start in a stock car.
Oh, just a little bit of tire spin there. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a standing start stock car race ever on iRacing.
It's like everybody made it pretty clean so far, which is, I'm honestly surprised, especially on going into turn 1 there. Looks like we do have one off in the track there. It looks like that's Doug. Yeah, he collected it, stayed out of the wall. Looks like he's going to keep going.
Looks like Brower's sticking to Stinger out there in the lead there.
Yeah, if
Brian
if
McCann,
Brower can.
your rest stream chat narration is coming through broadcast.
Ooh,
Yep, looks like turn that on.
Thomas. Yeah, old Brian McCann be happy with those black and gray colors out front.
Yes, he would. But you know, if I was Steve right now, I would just, you know, stay with, or sorry, if I was Brower right now, I would stay with Steve. You know, within about half a second, really save the tires, see what he's gonna do. I talked to the guys in practice, and there was some concern about the fuel run. It was going to be really close, showing about 20 laps. So that some fuel saving may come into play here if you know someone can make that stretch out and not have to pit.
Yeah, definitely. I know last week's race that really kind of caught a few of the guys there at the end. I know when me and Brian was broadcasting, we were kind of shocked to see some of those guys pitting with just a couple laps to go. Looks like might be a little bit of the same strategy tonight.
Yeah, it looks like we've had a crash between Paul Bozel and another car. Let's go back and see if we can't see what that was all about here. Ooh, like a chain reaction there. Looks like the 10 started it. Oh, and he just collected them there.
Yeah.
That's surprising. Number 10 there. He was Funkhauser. He was pretty fast in practice and qualifying, but it looks like he's still in 4th.
Yeah, Paul got a bad break in that accident there.
Yeah, it looks like Steve stretched his lead out to about 8 seconds now with Matt Henry. Looks like he's got a little bit of damage there. He might have been involved in that wreck there in turn 1. But doesn't seem to be impacting him that much. And it looks like we got a pretty good battle going on here for 4th place between Brower and Funkhauser. Ooh, and Funkhauser went really wide there in that last turn.
Yeah, see the damage on the front of Henry's truck there.
Riding on board here with Brower in 4th, trailing behind Funkhauser. Ooh, Funkhauser with a big mistake there. Got really loose. But one thing I'm noticing, Neil, riding on this onboard here, how much they're having to control that throttle. Oh, and we've got contact. Like Brower got into Funkhauser there.
Oh wow, yeah, I can see what you're saying. Looks like they're just a little bit loose on the back. It's hard to get the power down.
Yeah, it looks like they both got going there. Funkhauser and Brower currently sitting 3rd and 4th. Just had a little bit of an accident, but they both collected it. Looks like a little bit more damage there on the number 10 truck. But maybe it's not upsetting the driving that bad. Not enough to come into pits and take that one quick repair that the guys get tonight.
So it's so hard to make up time on road courses, especially when just little mistakes cost you so much time, if that makes sense. It's it's easy just to drop a second real quick, just not hitting a corner or making a good drive off the corner, coming down the straightaway, getting into the next corner.
Yeah, that's a good point. Road courses a lot of times are just a battle of who can be the most consistent and survive, not make any mistakes. You don't necessarily have to be the fastest driver out there. And
just hitting your marks and being consistent, like what you're saying.
Yep. And from what I remember, my experience in these trucks, especially on the road course, is it's all about saving those rear tires. If you're spinning coming out of the turns, getting sideways, you're going to overheat those rear tires, and it's only going to get worse every single lap you go around. And once you overheat them to that point, it takes quite a few laps to get them cooled down of going real easy, and you're just losing a ton of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how the newest tire builds or tire models that they put out, that the heat is really tough. You kind of get to that point that once they get to that heat or that point that they're hot, you can't get them to stick. And just like you said, it takes a lot longer to cool them down, especially the back tires on a road course.
Looks like the 2 of Hendrickson there has quite a bit of damage and has just went a lap down. Steve Singer just passed. Oh, and the number 2 is actually spun out there. Looks like he is going to tow. Let's ride on board here with Steve and just watch how much in control of this truck he is. You'll notice that when he's going into the turns, the rear end's not stepping out. He's hitting the apex. He's coming off the turn. He's not sliding it. You can hear him roll on that throttle nice and easy. It looks like he's just doing everything right tonight.
Yeah, he's definitely looks real smooth, putting on a clinic. I've been watching a little bit of the times, though. It doesn't seem like Matt's very far off behind him, though.
No, it looks like Matt's actually picked up about 3 seconds. Very interesting. Let's look at the lap times here. Looks like Henry went 3 seconds faster that lap time. So Singer must have had a mistake somewhere. Let's see if I can go back and find that. Very rare to see Stinger out here on a road course making a mistake.
Yeah, I thought Singer was up about 9 seconds there for a second.
Yeah, I can't find it on the replay, so it must have been very minor. He must not have went off the track enough for iRacing to trigger it as an event.
Yeah, it looks like he's getting back in the flow of things here and starting to build that lead back up.
So it looks like he just put the 51 of Clark down behind a lap there. Yeah, that lap was much better. He's back down into the 118s, and that looks to be where he's been running pretty consistently, except for that one odd lap there where he ran a 122. He's about 1/10 faster than Henry that lap. So let's ride on board with Henry here and just compare. Oh, and that is right. Henry has a little bit of damage there on the front, which may be impacting him. But let's see if we can spot any differences here between Henry and Singer. Looks like Matt's got pretty good throttle control there. He's not stepping the truck out too much. Now he's got to navigate by the 51 of Clark here, who is a lap down. And that is one thing you've got to worry about on a road course, lap traffic. Been taken out quite a few times by a lap car, because mistakes just happen. Going into, a turn, they just lock the brakes up. Anything can happen. It seems like it happens more in a road course than on an oval.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you a question. I know going back to racing with you guys, with you and Brian, as you come out of the bus stop and you make the right-hander, I know there's some guys, I know I personally kind of hug to the bottom of that. And I just noticed watching Matt that he swings out a lot wider coming off the exit of that. And doing some races here, I've noticed some of the guys do that. I know one of the guys that races in our league, normally Kyle Steffens, I watched him. He would seem to be pretty quick, and he swings out wide. What do you guys prefer?
I think when you're on fresh tires, you can hug that bottom and hug that line, and that'll be your fastest way around. I know when the tires get worn down, you're having trouble, getting on the throttle. Going out wide like that helps a whole lot. Sort of diamonding the turn, you'll enter kind of low, swing out wide, and then try to come off low. That just helps you get on that throttle, and I think that's what you're going to see a lot of these guys do as the tires become more worn here.
Yeah, we always talk about trying to come off the corner the straightest you can. Just two things: applying the most throttle to get it to go straight, and again, tire wear. It seems to better longer that you can do that. So, kind of that idea that like for short tracks like Martinsville and stuff like that too.
Yeah, definitely. So it looks like Steve Singer here has extended his gap to Matt Henry by about 2 seconds over the last 3 laps. And just looking at his lap times, pretty consistent, so Steve hasn't had another mistake. I do have to wonder, that damage from Matt Henry's truck is on the left front, and it's on a corner. I wonder if that is impacting his steering at all. It could be knocked his toe out a little bit, because I'm noticing his lap times are about a second slower on average than Steve.
Mm-hmm. I think Steve just kind of keeping him in control right now. I think that you kind of see him cut in. What I've really noticed is when we were talking about that right-hander after the bus stop, that after that turn, it seems like that half, the front half of the track, that Matt seems to be a little bit quicker and closes in a little bit, and then Steve pulls it back out on him a little bit on the other side. So it's kind of interesting to see that. But I think Steve's doing everything to control the race that he can right now.
Yeah, that fuel mileage can come into play. And Steve was the one I was actually talking to before the race, and he said it was going to be extremely close. Some guys may be able to stretch it out and not have to pit, and he thought they were going to be running out of fuel going across the line. So we're just now halfway through. We've got 10 to go. We could start to see some strategy come into play.
It'd be interesting to see some of these guys just cut it in half, and knowing that they're back far enough to go ahead and take the risk of pitting, and hopefully one of the leaders trying to stretch it out might not make it so they can pick up some spots.
Yeah, that is a good point. We saw last week in Atlanta, the winner ultimately was the one who did stretch that fuel out and had to go quite a bit slower on the last few laps, but it wasn't enough for the leader of the race, who did end up pitting. And it looks like number 51 there, Clark, just totally destroyed his truck there. But it wasn't enough. He didn't have to slow down enough for the leader to ultimately catch back up to him after he made his pit stop. So well,
and I think in the strategy like last week, I think that running it out all the way to the end, if you know that you're going to have to pit, and I think if you take that risk of more or less short pitting and giving you a chance to run down some of those guys as they're trying to save fuel at the end. I think that ultimately will make a better race for you in the end. But it was kind of interesting to watch what happened last week with me and Brian broadcasting, not having an idea, and then watching those guys all slow it down the last handful of laps to do what they could to get there. The strategy was really kind of interesting last week to see it play out that way.
Yeah, definitely. I was watching along, and I noticed that I think it was Sobel, Joshua Sobel, the one who he's not here tonight, but he was the one that started slowing down first, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, fuel might come into play here.
Yeah, it kind of snuck up on all of us actually, and the leader really got him.
It's like Paul Buzzell just had a spin there. I thought he had pit because the timing screen here had showed that he had entered and left pit lane, but he actually just spun into the pits, or the exit of the pits there in turn 1. So he hasn't pitted, just had a little bit of an accident there.
Wow.
So we've got the top 4 on the lead lap, and 5th through 7th are 1 lap down, and then we've got the number 3 of Clark 2 laps down, and Hendrickson and Widener both they're no longer in the race. They've decided to just call it quits. Oh, and it looks like Joshua Sobel just mentioned in the chat that he unfortunately had internet issues, and that's what ultimately caused him to miss the race. So that is unfortunate, because he was, I believe, in 6th place in the points, and it's the top 5 who qualify in for Season 3. So he's going to have to put on quite a performance in these last 2 races to have a chance.
Yeah, that's a tough one to miss.
Just looking at the timing here, it looks like Matt has gained a little bit of time on the leader, about a 1.5 seconds. Let's look at Steve's lap times to see. Nothing too out of the ordinary now. It looks like Steve's running in the high 119s now. So it's definitely looking like these trucks are getting harder to handle as these tires wear down. It could also be saving some fuel. Let's see if we can ride on board and tell if he's letting off early. That is one strategy you can do on the road courses here. You can do what's called a lift and coast. So when you're going down the straightaway, right before your braking point, you'll back it up just a little bit. You'll lift off the throttle, just let it coast just a little bit before you hit, and then hit your brake just a little bit later. You don't lose a whole lot of time, but you do save some fuel.
Now you're giving the secrets away.
And that's what the audience pays for there, Neil.
Everybody's writing it down on the notepad right now.
Yeah, another thing sort of unique to these trucks, and just listening to the shift points, downshifting. These things, the center of the weight is a little bit more forward in these cars, or trucks, excuse me. So you've got to be real careful not to unload that rear end when you're hard on the brakes and downshift. Cause you to get loose on entry, ultimately spin out. So typically what I hear and what I see, and from my own experience, is you downshift a little bit later, lower RPM than you would on, say, the Cup cars.
That's a great tip. That's learned from experience on that one. So there's many a times just downshifting too early, and just like you said, that you either get wheel hop or chatter, or the back end just wants to chase around on you.
It looks like we're riding on board here with number 10, Funkhauser. Looks like he had an accident. Yep, and that's exactly what we were just talking about. He got loose on entry into 1, probably related to downshifting there.
Tough one, or turn 1 here is really definitely an easy spot to overdrive.
Definitely. It seems like that is the biggest turn where you, as the race goes on, as the tires wear down, you're having to back up your braking point, because what's unique about that turn is it's actually, the braking point is downhill.
It is. You see a lot of guys either they'll turn in too early there, or they're turning in too late, sometimes causing themselves to get the back end to get loose too there. Um, it's a fine line between being good and being bad there.
Definitely. We'll ride on board here with Singer going into turn 1. Yeah, you'll notice this braking point was really far back compared to, the first couple laps of the race or even qualifying. But one thing I'm noticing about Steve here, coming out on the exit of turn 1, you'll see a lot of guys run wide and go up over that curb and even get 2 tires on the other side of the curb. That generally isn't faster. So we're watching Steve here. He's getting his left side tires on that curb, keeping his right side tires on the track. It allows you to just get on the throttle a lot sooner. Whereas if you go wider, you're taking a longer line. You have to wait a little bit before you can get on the gas. You would think it would be faster just from, you think you can just take a wide turn and it would be faster, but it's not really.
Definitely after turn 1, as you go up the hill coming through those S's, those curves kind of play a little bit of havoc. As fast as that type of, or that section of the track is, you're kind of playing with a fine line of those curbs upsetting the truck. It's really easy to hit those curbs and spin or get loose there.
So looking at Paul Buzzle here, he's had a few spins, self spins here, but just looking at his truck is clean. He's unfortunately a lap down, but we've got 3 to go, and we've been talking about fuel. If some of the leaders can't make it on fuel and have to pit, Paul could actually stretch it out and come into contention.
And at the beginning of the race, I did think that Paul did have damage, so he had to pit to get a clean truck, right?
You might be
We show
right.
he
He
pit?
might have taken a quick repair. I do think I remember that. And yes, just looking at the data here, he did pit on lap 2. So I think you're right. He was involved in one of those early wrecks and probably came in, got a quick repair.
Be interesting to see if where the leaders stack up here with the fuel.
Yeah, see, if he pitted on lap 2 and these guys are only, 1 or 2 laps of fuel short,
Oh yeah.
could definitely come into play.
Yeah, Steve's drove a good race, hitting marks and looking smooth out there.
One guy I'm surprised here who is running in the top 5 is Doug Thomas. He raced with him before. He's doesn't have a lot of experience on the road courses, but it looks like he's out here, got his truck clean. He hasn't pitted, so that means he hasn't had damage and had to get that repaired. He's just running a nice, steady race here, and he might come away with a top 5.
It's a good run. Do you at racing with Doug? Have you raced in another series with him, or?
Yeah, I think did a Cup Car series with him recently.
Okay.
So while we were talking there, something happened to Matt Henry. Just looking at the timing, he's now 18 seconds behind the leader, so he may have had a little spin. I'm going to go back and see if I can find that. And not going to be able to find it, but it looks like Steve's coming around taking the white flag here. And I'm going to ride on board with him just to see if he's saving fuel. Right here at this point in the track is a very tough place to get full throttle. And you can definitely hear him feathering that throttle, just rolling on it. Didn't hear any lift and coast there, but iRacing can sometimes lie to you when you're replaying like we are.
Yeah. He's done a good job coming up the hill there through the Estes there. I know earlier a couple of times in one of the replays I noticed that he seemed to be getting loose and doing a good job of getting through there smooth still.
Definitely. And he's going to come to the final turn here. No reason to push it. He's got quite a safe margin on his lead here, and it looks like Steve is going to come away with the win tonight. Looks like Matt Henry is going to cross the line here, coming in second. That was a good run from Matt. You know, he got caught up in one of those earlier wrecks, got a little bit of damage, but he ultimately held on to it and, you know, came away with a second place finish.
Yeah, Matt, from running with him in the ARCA series that we've ran together with, and Matt shows at times really good beat on different tracks. And I'm trying to remember back, I think Watkins was one track right, and he's through.
Yeah, Matt Henry did run the first part of that iROC Challenge series. Missed quite a few races there in Season 2, but looks like he's in good contention to qualify into Season 3 here. Looks like Brower has come across the line in third, and Funkhauser fourth, and Paul Buzzle actually did pass Thomas there for fifth place. Let's go back and see if we can watch that pass. Oh, and it looks like Doug just messed up on the last lap there in turn one. We gave him the old broadcasting jinx, Neil.
Yeah, we did. We've all been there.
All right, let's just
Yeah.
pull up the official results here. So again, we've got Steve Singer in first, Matt Henry in second, Matthew Brower third, Joshua Funkhauser in fourth, and Paul Buzzle rounding out your top five. So we're going to see if we can get these guys up here for an interview. Hey, Matthew, it's Kevin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Looks like you came home with a third place finish there. I believe you were caught up in one of the earlier incidents and got a little bit of damage. Did that have any impact on you tonight?
I'll be honest with you, man. Everything had an impact on me tonight. I guess I'm just born to turn left, man. These road courses are tough.
Oh, I understand that. Yeah, it's definitely something if you don't have a lot of practice in, can be very challenging.
Yeah, for sure. I practiced for 2 days, man. I still didn't have a grip on it.
So we were talking a lot about fuel. Did fuel strategy ever come into play? Did you have to do any fuel saving?
I didn't. To be honest with you, I almost checked the gauges just like twice. I was just going for it, trying to stay going forward.
Gotcha. All right. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Just shout out to my family, and my friends. My boy Justin, he really helped me out, kind of coaching me on Watkins Glen, so that was a big help as well.
All right, man. Congrats on the third place finish. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring Matt Henry. Hey, Matt, it's Kevin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I do. How you doing, man?
Hey, good, good. So you come home with a second place finish. We were watching you throughout tonight. Looks like you were maintaining that gap to Steve right around that 8 or 9 second mark. Walk us through what your strategy was, any kind of challenges you had, such as tires, fuel.
Yeah, my main strategy was just to not make mistakes and survive. Looking at the practice, I figured I wasn't gonna be able to catch Singer, and thought I maybe could catch Funkhauser. And once he spun out there, then it was just surviving, really, not making mistakes. And then near the end, it was probably the way I drove it. The tires were getting a little slick, so I was paying attention to that.
Yeah, we were noticing on quite a few people's own boards that it looked like the rear tires were definitely worn out. It was very hard to get on the throttle. We saw a lot of guys getting sideways coming out of the turns, even on entry sometimes. So that's one of those things with 20 laps on a road course without pitting. You got to maintain those tires.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
I want to congratulate Steve for winning, and congratulate Chris for putting it on, and you guys for doing the broadcasting, man.
Yeah, no problem. So it looks like where do we head next week? Double check that.
Heck, maybe I don't remember.
Oh, next week's the wild card. We go to Eldora on the dirt.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Do you have a lot of dirt experience, or is it going to be a new experience for you?
I have a little bit. I think I have like a C license doing some of the 305 and what's one of the slower ones I have a little experience in, but nothing with a lot of horsepower.
Well, I can tell you if you need any tips here, Mr. Neil, full send it quick, up here. He definitely knows how to make that slide job. I guess you could call it work.
I mean, I could give you guys any tips. I mean, you come out of turn 2, you approaching 4, you might as well just start sliding it all the way down to the back straight away.
I just slide it all the way around.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've had a lot of practice. I mean, I've done a really good one on Brian at Knoxville, and I think I knocked Kevin over the berm a couple of times at Lernerville too. So, but
Yep. I think you got to get into your head with these. It's just no full throttle.
just full throttle till you slide until you hit something.
All right. Again, congrats on the third place finish, Matt, and hopefully we'll be talking to you next week.
Yeah, congrats, Matt.
Thanks, guys. You guys have a good night.
You too.
All right, and we've got our winner tonight, Mr. Steve Singer. Do you got a copy?
Yeah, Kev, I got you.
Awesome race, man. We were watching you there. You made very few mistakes. We were riding on board with you. You were definitely the driver to beat tonight. You looked cool, calm, and collected. You weren't sliding, coming out of the exit. You weren't sliding on the entry. Just walk us through your strategy tonight.
Well, the strategy changed up quite a bit at the initial start because I didn't realize we were doing a standing start. So I figured fuel was going to be an issue, but without that parade lap, it saved a little bit of fuel, and I was able to save some more fuel backing out of it with the lead that I had.
Definitely, yeah. We were actually talking at the beginning of the race and completely whiffed the start. We had no idea it was a standing start either, so I think that came to a surprise for all of us.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked to see you guys take off with the standing start.
That's okay. I didn't seem to mind it. I like the road courses. I do a lot of that stuff on the sports car side. I mean, I grew up coming here at the Glen. I live an hour and a half from the track, going to NASCAR races and such, but pretty much road courses are my thing. So I was used to that kind of a start.
So I heard you mention fuel. We talked to a few of the other guys. They didn't seem to be doing any, fuel saving or anything. Did you have to do some fuel saving?
I've been running 20 lap stints every night for the last week. And at no point was I able to make it a full 20 if you factored in the parade lap.
Interesting.
So that's why I was excited. Okay, standing start, that's lap 1. It saves me some parade lap, but it was going to have to be a splash and go late. Those guys, not picking on anybody, they're running a couple of seconds a lap faster once we got going. They're not burning as much fuel. That's why I backed it off so much.
Gotcha. Yeah, we didn't factor in that parade lap, so that is a good point.
It's interesting that the one lap made the big difference there. That standing start paid off big for you guys up front there.
Well, at the same token, if I had to run wide open the whole time, I don't really know if I would have made it even with that, because you're only
That close.
you're saving a tenth or two without running that lap, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Real interesting.
So it looks like next week we head to Eldora. So trucks on dirt. How you feel about that?
Dirt belongs in the sandbox.
Oh,
Oh, so
It'd be a disaster.
Now-
I've never run anything on dirt, not even in the sim. It's just not my forte. So I'm glad I got this win, but we'll see what happens next week.
all right,
so
now
Steve, not a lot of dirt tracks up there by you up there in the New York area.
Well, we do. In fact, Canandaigua Speedway is only about 15 minutes from my house. The whole
Okay.
Stewart
Yep.
incident took place, but yeah, there's some dirt tracks. I like watching it. I've got no interest to run on it, but it is what it is. It's on the schedule, so we'll do what we got to do.
You big paid modified fan up there?
You know, the last couple of years, I've really gotten into the modifieds, whether it's the rock modifieds, SKs, and I guess we got a tour race coming up here over the summer. Well, that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just interesting just to ask different types of area. I know from the Midwest myself, it's everything's dirt down here, whether it's midget racing or sprint cars or dirt late models, anything along that lines.
You got a pretty good mix up here. If you go a little further west, Oswego, it's a good mix.
Awesome. Congrats tonight on the great performance.
yeah, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Broke up, appreciate it. Yeah, I want to props and thanks Kevin for being car wrote me, but we're pretty asked to begin with a right along mark right now, so appreciate your help.
All right, and congratulations again on the win, and hopefully we'll be interviewing you again next week at Eldora.
Thanks a lot, guys.